Tracy. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm very happy that you came back for our session this week. So I'd just like to start off, if it's all right with you, by just checking in like usual and seeing how things have been, since we last met last Wednesday.
The week overall's been pretty good. Today's been pretty much a crappy day.
Well, that's not good. What's happened to make it so crappy?
I'm gonna say we kind of had all the stress of practicum. That was kind of over. Had a staff meeting at work that was just didn't go very well, and long day at work. And then at the end of the day, my daughter had called me very upset because someone had tried to grab her at the bus stop.
Oh my goodness, that must have been very scary.
That was very scary. So we called the cops, and she had to talk to the cops and, give them a description of the gal, and they caught her and, took a picture, brought it back. My daughter identified her, and then they asked if we wanted to press assault charges. And I'm like, absolutely. And it's just new day and different form of stress.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like you guys have had quite a day and night.
Yes.
So I know last week, our main focus of the session last week was more so on like positive thinking and focusing on positive thinking and not so much like directly focused on the practicum, but kind of some things that impacted your practicum. And you said that you were feeling stressed and relieved and worried and kind of this mix of emotions. And so I could only assume that considering the scary situation you and your daughter dealt with today, that you have maybe some strong emotions, some strong feelings as a result of that. So you care to spend some time talking to me about kind of how you're feeling?
A lot of stress. And say at first I was just kind of numb, I guess, for lack of a better word. I was just kind of there, everybody's, I guess, freaking out or, oh my gosh. And I just kind of was lacking emotion. And the more I'm thinking about it now, it's kind of like a slow burn. I'm starting to get upset and angry and waiting to talk to the cops and to see what happens and hoping, they get charges pressed and something comes of it, because I'm very angry, upset, and aggravated, just whatever you want to give it, that it not only did it happen, but it was at a bus stop as she was getting, coming home from school.
Right.
So there, a lot of stress, mad, numb, if that even makes any sense, all at the same time.
Yeah, it does. Understandably, a lot of thoughts and various whirlwind feelings that are going on right now. Well, I guess this would be a good opportunity to kind of see what you want our agenda to be for today. I know we've focused quite a bit on like your practicum and like reducing worry and increasing positive thoughts in the past. That's been mostly what our agenda has been, and that's been like the goals that you've identified over the course of the sessions that we've done. But I'm wondering if maybe this incident with your daughter or your day overall is more a priority for you today, or what your thoughts are about what you want to focus on for the session today.
Yeah, obviously, stress has been everywhere that we've talked about, and just kind of maybe figuring out how to deal with the stress where it's at and not carrying it over into other areas, I'm going to say, because the gal that had tried grabbing her, it's not like they were trying to kidnap her. She was walking, and come to find out she was under the influence of alcohol and apparently had some mental health issues. So after the kind of numb wore off, I'm going to say now I'm thinking, gosh, if they send her for mental health help, she's going to show up at my doorstep at work.
Right, because you deal with mental health services.
Because I deal with mental health. And then I sat there and think that if they try and get her services for the alcohol addiction, that's where I'm transferring to. So I'm sitting here thinking, stressing and being, I don't know if worried exactly is the right word, or concerned, that there's a very, very good possibility that either in my current role or in my practicum role that I'm going to encounter this person on a professional level.
Which would, I assume, not be a pleasant experience for you, considering this woman had an incident with your daughter where she tried to grab her. Probably upset your daughter quite a bit.
Yeah, she was very shaken up.
So it sounds like, you kind of want to focus on dealing with stress and kind of how we can resolve that stress regardless of like where it stems from. So today that stress may primarily be coming from this incident and this new situation with your daughter. And one of your concerns is, are you going to end up dealing with this lady who scared your daughter, traumatized your daughter through the course of either your current position now with the mental health services, or the position that you are still in the process of transferring to, which is more on the drug and alcohol side of the coin. Is that an accurate summarization of what I've heard so far?
That is very accurate. It's, because anybody messing with your kids, period, is just not okay. But then to have that person land on your doorstep at work could cause a lot of stress.
Would kind of be a less than ideal situation.
Exactly.
So, if you don't mind, talk to me for a minute about, like, I know you may not be as educated about, like, this type of policy through the drug and alcohol side of it, because it's my understanding that's not a position that you've had before. Like, that's something that you're going to be transferring to in the future. But what is your agency's position right now? And again, this is all just kind of speculation because you don't know if this lady will end up on your doorstep. But say she does end up on your doorstep at work and she needs mental health services when you're still employed at the agency where you're employed now. Does your agency have a policy on conflict cases?
I know they do when it comes to like family members or people that you know very well. They will, we have enough caseworkers that they will pair them up with someone else so you're not interacting with them. Or if somebody comes in, since it is such a small town, somebody comes in that from, say, church or something, that you feel uncomfortable dealing with, they are usually pretty good about placing them with other individuals. So I'm quite confident that if she were to arrive at the agency, that they would not assign her to my caseload. They would give her to somebody else. But just, I get anxious just even the thought of it. It's like, oh, I don't even want to be around her. It's like, here, let me help you like you helped my daughter.
So, and I assume, somebody who assaults a child, your child at a bus stop is probably not a frequent situation that they deal with in regards to being a reason to conflict out of a case. But it sounds like you said you're pretty confident that if this lady shows up at the door of your agency, like, you probably won't have to deal with it directly. Like, they will respect your desire to conflict out and not be a part of that. So,
right.
So does that make you feel any less? I mean, I know it's understandably a very scary situation and not ideal for you or your daughter. I mean, honestly, probably not ideal for the intoxicated lady with mental health issues who might have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But does it make you feel even remotely better about that situation? Like if she were to show up?
Yeah.
Services from work?
Yeah, honestly, knowing that I wouldn't have to deal with her, but just I have trouble wrapping my head around the idea of just that potentially she could be, I guess, in my space, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's not like the company's mine or, that I expect we wouldn't help people, but it's just a little too close to home for my liking.
Right. And it feels like even needing services from your place of employment in general, even if you're not directly involved, that you said she's in my space, that's too close for comfort, regardless of if you have to be the one that's dealing with her on a direct um, you know, client professional basis. So.
Yeah. It just, yeah. And it's one of those I'm having, it's like almost like there's two sides of me. The professional side knows that she, needs help and, we could help her with that. But at the same time, it's like you've messed with my child.
Right.
So
it's not an easy thing to overcome.
No, there's a lot of conflict within myself there.
So intellectually understanding like that boundary, and I'm a professional and this is my role as a professional to provide services to people who probably do honestly a lot of bad things. But emotionally being able to reconcile that with the strong feelings you have over the fact that she scared or hurt your daughter, sounds like that's not an easy thing.
Right.
And I don't think it would be an easy thing for anybody, honestly. So.
And that, and I guess I'm overthinking, but if she were to show up to my agency now, because we have a lot of clients who have mental health issues as well as addictions, duals type stuff. And, she comes to the agency for mental health help, and I transfer. And if she's in that program too, it'd be like, look, ever since this has happened, we can't get away from her because this individual just lives like less than a block from our house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So not only could she be in your space at work, but she is almost in your space at home too.
Yes, I think that's probably where I'm feeling the most stressed and anxious. It's like, and we, try and tell our kids, oh, it's a good place, we live in a good neighborhood. We, this, that, and the other. But, I'm at the same time, how do you do that and not scare the hell out of them at the same time?
Right. So tell me more if you're willing to, if you're comfortable doing it. And if you're not, that's perfectly fine. Just let me know at any point. But tell me more about like the situation with your daughter and kind of how that played out. And you don't have to go into a lot of details, but maybe even just a brief summarization of like what happened and how your daughter dealt with it and how you dealt with it since.
Yeah. Well, my daughter, first off, is special needs. So she has trouble recognizing strangers sometimes anyway. She's friends with everybody. But the bus stop is maybe 50 yards from our front door.
Okay.
She came home from school, and there's two other kids that are on the bus stop. A little girl gets dropped off on top of the hill, and then they go probably another 50 yards and drop my daughter and another boy off. And they got off the bus takes off. The boy literally lives across the street. And so my daughter starts to go walk towards home, and this boy went in the house. The gal grabbed her, like front on grabbed her. She took and broke loose from her, and then she grabbed her again and had her hands behind her back. Well, my daughter got loose again and ran up to a neighbor's house, and that gal took off, walked off, whatever. And so my Casey come home, and she called me and told me that somebody tried to grab her. So obviously I left work, came home. She did a very good job, had a description of the gal, told us what she was wearing, what color hair she had, told me that she was goony looking. So we called the cops, gave them the description. Within maybe 15 minutes, we had an officer at our door. I had went in the meantime before I had called and stopped at the one neighbor's house and asked her if there was a woman there, and she gave me the exact same description. I also went to the boy's house and asked if he had seen the lady there, and he gave me the exact same description. So that was when the cops showed up. And so we told him, and he had actually told me that they had the person they were talking to them. They'd found her because I had came the back way home and couldn't find her. Long story short, we gave the description, told them what happened. They went and snapped a picture of her and brought it back to the house and showed my daughter. She identified her and said, yes, that's her. That's when they told us that she was under the influence of alcohol and she had a mental illness, I guess. She's from Cleveland, so what she's doing in Kirksville, I have no idea. She's staying with her son, and then the officer asked if we wanted to press assault charges, and I said yes. So it just, yeah. So ever since then, I was just I don't want to say numb, but pretty much I was calm as a cucumber through all of it and just, kind of mellow. And as the night has progressed and the more I've thought about it and thought about the connections with work, it just has kind of
been more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, understandably. I mean, as scary of a situation as that was, and that must have been for your daughter, as you were telling me what happened, I noticed a lot of very positive things that happened, like during the course of the incident. You said your daughter was able to break away not once but twice, and then she knew, or her next step was to go to the neighbor's house and get somewhere where she knew she was safe. So, like, how do you think your daughter knew to do those things? Do you think that that was a fluke? She got lucky, or how did she know what to do in that situation?
Well, it's stuff that we've talked about in passing. I mean, as everybody does with their kids, if something happens and mom or dad's not around, you find a grown up, find a neighbor, go someplace safe. So, and she had, even when I got home, had drawn a stick figure picture and had drawn hair on it and wrote blonde, and she wrote down the color of her coat or jacket and that she had blue jeans on. And I mean, she gave a lot more details than I probably would have been able to. So I was very proud of her for that. So, I mean, yes, there's positives in it, but it's just the scary factor weighs a little bit more than the positives at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And I wasn't trying to discount the scariness of it. I was only meaning that it sounds like you have a very smart daughter who obviously has been well educated and well taught by the people in her lives, to be able to know to do all of those things. Because, like you said, she gave a lot of detail, and she did that all on her own. And I think I know a lot of people who wouldn't have been able to be so concise and clear and thorough in a situation as scary as that. So I think it sounds like you've definitely done some good things with your daughter, and other kids, if you have other kids, as far as being able to prepare them for scary situations, or maybe not scary situations, but situations that you can't predict.
Right.
And being prepared for anything. So, what do you have a plan or a next step in mind for how this situation is going to resolve, or what your goal is to get the situation resolved? I know you said that you talked to the police about the possibility of filing assault charges, pressing charges against her. So
yeah, I guess I've never had to do this before, so it's a
right.
learning experience. So I presume I'll probably try and get a copy of the police report at least, and then just ask them what what happens next. And I presume it'll go to the prosecuting attorney, maybe make contact with them and say, ask what happens, and, maybe talk to him, because I'm very concerned about the fact, my daughter, anybody's daughter, son, whatever, that it was at a bus stop.
Right.
So, and I think that's
so
stressful.
close to home, even like right outside your door.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I would find some satisfaction in if there are some repercussions for her in some shape or form, at least I would feel like she was, punished a little bit for what she's done.
It might make you and your daughter feel safer.
Yeah. Or at least something was done.
Right. There was some consequence for
Right.
Negative behaviors, which is, a lesson that we're often taught earlier in life. If we, make bad choices, there should be punishment for that. So I think that's an understandable expectation on your part. But it sounds like you have at least, a tentative plan in place for how you can kind of see this situation through to the end, and keeping in contact with law enforcement and speaking to the prosecutor, and following through with on your end of it, and doing what you can to help protect yourself and help protect your daughter. Can you think of anything else that you could do that could make you and your daughter feel safer or less anxious?
I've talked to her caseworker at school to let them know that, when she goes to school telling this story, it's not just a story, that it really did happen.
Right.
And talked to them about because she had talked about talking to the school resource officer, his police officer that's there, and being able to tell him what she did. I think, validating for herself that she did a good job. I'm trying, as hard as it is for me to find the positives, I'm trying to share with her that she did a good job, and that, we're proud of her and stuff like that. And it's, it's one of those, while I'm preaching it to her, I'm maybe not as believing it as much for myself.
So is there anything that you could do, or any measures that we could put in place that will help you feel better, like you're trying to make your daughter feel better? Is there anything that you could think of?
Just, I think probably keep up with the positives with her, and keep educating her about the positive things. Will, fake it till you make it kind of thing. If I tell her enough, I'll believe it myself. Okay. Which will benefit both of us.
Do you think there's any I know you've talked about the things that you plan to do in order to see the situation through. Do you think that there's like any of those actions you can go ahead and take part in, or any things you can do along those lines that can reinforce not only telling yourself that, but reinforcing within yourself that not only do I think this, but I can do something about it also. I don't know if that even makes sense, but
well, I just, for myself, usually I've got a pretty good temper, so the fact that I'm not flying off the handle and just outrageously mad right now is a positive. So,